Received a call from an inmate at the Department of Corrections. This call will be recorded and monitored. If you wish to block any future calls of this nature, dial 7 now. To accept this call, press 5 now. To decline this call, hang up.
Well, hello there, John. How are you? Oh, I am doing very well. Yeah, progress is going pretty good. So, the fight is the fight, and we'll do whatever we can to gain victory. And with your support, oh my goodness, that is just amazing. Yeah, yeah. There's several things going on, but each one is progressing slowly, but making headway. So I'm very happy that we're able to get involved. And I noticed that there's people in the public that are concerned about these things as well. And the more people we get on board, the better off that we are. Good, good. Yeah. Keep your mission going. You need to talk to the people that's in there, and hopefully they can talk to their loved ones, and we can keep the conversation going. I don't want to fall into the little pattern that they have out here in the world where we'll start an issue, and then when public support or interest drops, then the issue goes unresolved. And it's one of those things where you hear about it every single day, and people tend to say, you know what, I'm tired of hearing about it. Let's just fix this and get it over with. Well, I would say the main thing right now will be prisons. I want to get rid of the prisons. I think we can do better than locking people up all the time. Well, yeah, of course. What the violent criminals, the ones that will be a danger to society if they get out, yeah, that they definitely need to be in there. But most of the prison population, they're really not that dangerous offenses. I would say a majority of them are drug dealers and users. Now, the dealers, I'm not a big fan of. I actually fought that back in the day. But the people who use the drugs, without the dealers, it'd be tough for them to get the drugs. And maybe they'll go for alternatives. But if we broadcast alternatives, maybe you're watching a movie. I know some of these social media and cable networks and stuff, they'll have when you can pay for the service at a cheaper price and you'll get commercials. Maybe some of those commercials should be for the resources that's in the area. So if a person is overwhelmed with bills and finding a place to live or a job, maybe we could broadcast the resources that they have in the community. And the states should support these, and we should ask for money. I mean, we got the Red Cross and we have the Salvation Army. They're very good for helping people with certain assistance, but we need things for drug abuse and mental wellness, and maybe people that are just depressed. And if we can offer these services and not cut them, I think that could help reduce the prison population, which will in turn reduce the prisons. But in home monitoring and those little things where people do
You
community
have 60
service,
seconds remaining.
I think that's going to help. Well, yeah, yeah. Well, it's something that's going to be continual. We can't let up on it. And I would rather have people tell me I'm sick of hearing about that than I didn't know anything about it. Right. And yes, the children really need to know. I know when I was growing up, it wasn't emphasized as much because in the 70s, drug use was big. But now, with
You have
social,
30 seconds
with
remaining.
social media out there, it's a lot easier to get the information out. And I'm going to do the best I can with the social media platform that I have. Yes, definitely. Send letters, phone calls, emails, get your voice heard. Okay, well, thanks for the call and keep up the good work. Oh, yeah, you too. All right, I'll talk to you later. Thank you. Goodbye.
Thank you for using Inmate Call. Goodbye.
Hello, and welcome to AQS Inmate Call. I am your host, Joel Wilborn, and I would like to mention that here recently, we've been incarcerating a lot of people across the country. And I really can't understand why local communities feel that it's necessary that when a person commits a crime, this person has to be locked up. And a lot of times for many years. Now, there are some things I completely understand, and that's when we have a violent criminal. If there's somebody roaming the streets, assaulting people, this person has no business being free and able to roam the streets. But then there are those who commit crimes for reasons that we think we understand, but it goes beyond that. And that could be substance abuse, or maybe they're just not mentally well. And it could just be that the person was caught up emotionally. Maybe a person comes home from work, finds a spouse cheating, and just goes ballistic. These things happen. What I would like to address is that we need to really focus on preventing the crimes. For years, we have come up with ways to deal with the crime after it's been committed and after the person's been convicted. We'll just stick them in prison or stick them in jail. Well, in the state of Washington, we have a jail that was so bad, it was just degraded, that it was ordered to be closed. And now the people in the county, sheriff is saying, I don't feel comfortable putting people in there. They're gonna have to find alternatives. Folks would go to court, get convicted, and it was like a assembly line. It was just arrest, trial, conviction, arrest, trial, conviction, and throwing everybody in jail. Even in the county where I live, Spokane County, lots of people are going to prison. Well, what we're discovering is that the people are beginning to get fed up with throwing money into the penal system. The jail that was closed, they're going to have to find a way to build a new jail or find another jail to ship them off to, which is going to be quite pricey, or they're going to have to find alternative means. And I believe the folks in this state are looking at the alternative. With the ankle monitor, I don't know how many people know this, but the person who was convicted has to pay for the service of the ankle monitor. I like that idea, because one of the reasons people do go to prison is because they're making decisions on their own. They're not thinking about society. They're not thinking about their neighbors or their community. They're just thinking about themselves. It's a very selfish move. Even spouses will say that, what were you thinking when you committed this crime? Or family members when they go visit their loved one who's incarcerated. Why did you do this? And although the reasons to commit crime vary across the ages, I just want to focus on just these selfish means. And so if a person goes to court and the judge realizes that jail is full and that the prison is full, maybe in this case it's not even an option for them, the judge could say, I'm going to put you on an ankle monitor in home incarceration. And so it will cost them a monthly fee. They'll have to check in, they'll have to have a phone, and it's a hassle because one of the people I know, she's trying to get my help for some place where she can go, where she can get a phone and a proper approved area where she could stay. She says, if I can't get approved for this, I'll have to go to jail. And that particular punishment has a benefit because in order to pay for this, the person has to have a job. And with let's say a probation officer keeping an eye on them, this person has to check in, will be allowed to leave the property to go to work or maybe work from home. That's an option nowadays to make money. And then part of that money goes toward the paying for this. Now, just imagine this. A person commits a crime, gets incarcerated, and has to pay for incarceration, pay for the service. I wonder how many people would be incarcerated. Those that don't think much about it, they're more or less like saying, well, if I go to jail, then I'll have free meals and free medical, free room and board, pretty much. But if they have to pay, if they have to work really hard, get up and work maybe more than 40 hours a week, that might change things around a bit. Because now some people are using prisoners as free labor. They'll go out, clean the roads, make license plates or make furniture. And some states, they don't pay them for this. Others do pay them, but this is really low pay. Of course, I would like every state to pay at least minimum wage to the people who work in the prisons, but the Constitution, they don't have to pay them. But the state could pay these folks. And so with all this money where the people have to pay for their ankle monitor or the states have to pay minimum wage for these workers, that might hit home because a lot of people don't want to work really hard and hardly get anything for it. They want some kind of reward. If they're going to use their talents and their experience to complete a task, they'd like to be paid for that work. And if you don't make quite enough for the work that you're doing, it can be frustrating. And that could be a deterrent. But if we throw the financial burden in there, and even if the person, let's say they're making minimum wage and then half of it has to go toward them paying for the services that they're in there for, that could help the state and it could show the person who's doing all this work that this is just not worth it. We can't make going to prison, going to jail worth their time or just a minor inconvenience. It has to be something that they just don't like. Back in the day, they used to have a chain gang, and we had a about 100 years ago, we had a local judge who was getting tired of people going into jail in the wintertime to get room and board. And even just those people who were convicted would say that I committed this crime because it's easier for me to sit in the jail than to be homeless out on the streets. So the judge came up with an alternative to that, something that would try to deter them. And he put them on a chain gang. And so suddenly, this appealing sitting in jail was not so appealing. And we've gotten away from that. But imagine bringing that back. That the people who go to prison, they're constantly working. And we get the benefit from these folks working, but the money that they get goes to pay for the services living in the prison. And it's a whole lot easier to be on the outs and have a job, making minimum wage, maybe working at a restaurant or something, and then coming home, spending time with the family, going out to the park, playing some golf or something, and being able to pace yourself and relax rather than sitting in a jail cracking rocks or scraping sidewalks or washing graffiti off of walls. If we want to deter crime, we got to try to put a little more effort into it. And so when you have most of the people who are in prison and in jails involved in substance abuse, wouldn't it make sense to put these people in programs to invest in hospitals and treatment centers and probably professionals like counselors and nurses, doctors that can sit with these folks and try to work with them and get them away from the substance abuse so they don't have to steal our cars, break into our homes and steal our property just to be selfish for their addiction. And then when you look at some of these prisons as well, people who are addicted to these illegal substances, they can still get them in the prison. And I mean, I'm not going to broadcast it on this podcast, but I have personal information from some of the folks that are locked up on how these drugs are getting in and how they're getting out and how they're being used. But you don't want to hear that two people died in prison from a drug overdose. A drug overdose in prison, that's just, to me, it's preventable. Just like COVID, when people were getting COVID in prison, it just blew my mind. But we need to concentrate on this. And I'm hoping people will get out and they'll talk and they'll work with their family, they'll work with their friends in ways to find a way that doesn't cost the taxpayers so much money and put more of the burden on the convicted people so that we can end some of this nonsense. But to do that, we're going to have to work together and we're going to have to get the word out there. So I'm hoping you'll go to my YouTube channel, Joel Wilborn YouTube channel, and look at Oxyword. Look at some of the videos where convicted people, people who are in prison or were in prison, are talking to you, giving you advice, explaining why these people are in prison, and then some of the hardships they're going through. And And that could be an attack on the justice system. But if you want to find out what's wrong, what's broken out there, you're going to have to talk to the people who are the victim. And a lot of times the victims are the people that are locked up because they were in the wrong place at the wrong time and they got wrongly convicted. Not all people in prison, not all people in jail are guilty. And so here we are with jails that are filled with people who didn't commit a crime. That needs to be looked at. We also need to increase our resources. Let's spend money wisely and invest in preventative measures rather than locking folks up and hoping for some odd reason that they're going to get out a better person. It just doesn't work that way. Locking massive amounts of people up for long periods of time has never worked and it will never work in the future. So why do we keep doing it? It's like the old saying about, you keep doing the same thing over and over and expect different results. You keep building prisons, locking people up, thinking society's safer. That's not the way it works. So hopefully you'll go out, talk to your friends and family, and get involved. Change begins with you. And let's reduce recidivism and let's reduce the prisons and the jails and make our community safer. We can do it. Well, have yourself a wonderful day and make beautiful memories for tomorrow.